The rise in crude oil marketing as countries begin to ease lockdown restrictions. Senate falls cost of production as NNPC's GMD states factors responsible. President Muhammadu Buhari reconstitutes NNPC board, and also we take a look at the effect on jet fuel from lack of air travel. The Nigerian Navy destroyed 2,287 illegal refineries, and Saudi Arabia still making huge dividends in the midst of coronavirus pandemic. And on electricity, federal government set to improve the power sector. And finally, we have a chat with the Director General of National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NOSDRA. You can watch E&E Weekly live online on www.asoradiotv.com/live. Also on StarTimes TV, channel 127, and Free TV, channel 507. You can watch a copy of every episode of E&E Weekly on its YouTube page. We'll be right back.
My name is Oluwaseun Ayodeji Oshowabi, and I survived the coronavirus. There is so much information out there on how to protect oneself from contracting the virus, yet nothing prepares you for the shock of testing positive. When I found out I had contracted the coronavirus, it took some time and a lot of struggle to accept my reality. But as a survivor, one thing I can assure you is that the coronavirus is not a death sentence. More importantly, know this: if you get admitted at a treatment center for COVID-19, please stay strong and confident that you're receiving the best quality of care. I pulled through, and I know you can. For people who remain COVID-19 negative, your status is not a license to stigmatize. Lend your support to infected and discharged persons.
This message is brought to you by the United Nations in conjunction with the Federal Government of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Health, and the NCDC. Take responsibility. Stay safe.
Welcome back. This is E&E Weekly. I'm JOYCELYN, ELLAKECHE, ADAH. We are starting off with the gradual rise in crude oil price as the world begins to ease virus-related restrictions. There have been a steady rise in crude oil price. Countries are beginning to buy more oil as driving is picking up in the US, Europe, and Asian countries, and some parts of Africa. There would be an OPEC meeting within the week, and expectations are there would be further production cut to further stabilize oil prices. Analysts say if the current cut is extended, Brent crude could rise up to $40 per barrel in June. China's refineries are buying more oil as the country's economy reopens. Saudi Arabia and Russia have ended their price war and slashed production, and American oil companies are reportedly decommissioning rigs and shorting oil wells. All of these developments have helped push up oil prices modestly. The Secretary General of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Mohammed Barkindo, says the organization is quite encouraged by the rally in oil prices and the strong adherence to its latest output cut. It will be recalled that OPEC, Russia and its allies agreed to a supply quota of 9.7 million barrels per day from May 1st, 2020. This is an effort to offset a slump in prices and demand caused by the coronavirus outbreak. A few weeks back, oil prices fell to as low as $16 per barrel. But as the month of May came, OPEC members and its allies has cut oil exports by about 6 million barrels per day, according to analysts. Mr. Barkindo reportedly said that the oil markets are responding positively to the historic agreement, as well as its robust implementation by participating countries. In anticipation of the rise in crude oil price in the international market, it is reported that the National Assembly will likely adjust northward the revised proposed oil benchmark in the 2020 budget when it gets to the chambers of the executive arm of the government. It would be recalled that the Federal Executive Council had proposed an oil benchmark of $20 per barrel in view of the circumstances that prevailed the oil market.
This followed a meeting of the Senate Committee on Finance with the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Hajia Zainab Ahmed, and her agency on the revised 2020-2023 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Policy Paper MTEF, FSP in Abuja. A cross-section of the committee members said, with a crude benchmark of $25 per barrel of the crude oil as reflected in the proposed revised MTEF, FSP, the viability of the petroleum sector as a country's mainstay should be brought to question. This sentiment was raised after the group managing director of the NNPC, ELLAKECHE, who was represented, revealed the current production cost per unit of crude oil, stating the factors responsible.
Security challenges are kind of peculiar to Nigeria, because in other climes, even crude oil pipelines are on the surface, and you hardly see them being tampered with. But Nigeria, even when they are buried 2 meters, 3 meters deep, they are still breach, in the main.
On stamp duty, the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mohammed Nami, said the planned reduction of expected revenue there from 463 billion naira to 200 billion naira was largely due to the present economic realities occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic.
We are very confident that with the technology we are deploying, we are going to be able to bring more taxpayers to TaxNet. Those transactions that happen online that we are not able to access to tax before now, we should be able to access them to tax. The blockchain technologies earlier deployed by smart taxpayers, if we are able to connect to them, we should be able to increase the non-oil taxes and our capacity to do that.
In the close of the session, the chairman of the committee, Senator Solomon Olamilekan, said his committee will focus its searchlight on the CBN with regards to the stamp duty.
On the issue of the stamp duty, it is expected that the Central Bank of Nigeria, yes, the Senate is having before him to investigate the stamp duty account with the Central Bank of Nigeria. That motion has been prepared by the Senate to the Committee on Finance to investigate. I will not hesitate to do that because there is need for us to get to the roots of this matter regarding the cashless transaction.
Recall that the committee is expected to report back to the Senate today on the President's request for approval of the revised 2020-2022 MTEF FSP.
The Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, has reduced the pump price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, to 121 naira 50 kobo per litre from 123 naira 50 kobo per litre. This was disclosed in a letter to marketers titled Guiding Price for Premium Motor Spirit in the month of June. It would be recalled that President Muhammadu Buhari had approved a monthly adjustment in petrol pump price in view of the current price instability and the international oil pricing. PPPRA stated in the letter to marketers that after a review of the prevailing market fundamentals in the month of May and considering marketers' realistic operation cost as much as practicable, a new PMS guiding price for the month of June 2020 is 121 naira 50 kobo. Ex-depot price is at 102 naira 13 kobo and ex-depot price for collection is at 109 naira 78 kobo. PPPRA advised all marketers across the country to operate within the new price template. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reconstitution of the board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. It was revealed in a statement by the senior special advisor on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina. The reconstituted team were appointed in 2016, and upon expiration, the president appointed a new board. They are Muhammad Lawal, representing Northwest, Tajuddin Umar, representing Northeast, Adamu Mahmood Atta, North Central, Magnus Abe, South-South, Stephen DK, Southeast, Pius Akinye Lure, Southwest. A board chairman was not announced. The former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Emmanuel Ibe Kachuku, served as board chairman in 2016 and was replaced by John Asuko Thomas, whom served as an alternate chairman until the appointment of Chief Timipre Silva as the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. And now moving on, jet fuel demand is set to lag behind other oil products as airports around the world remain closed due to the lockdown on traveling by nations to curtail the spread of coronavirus. Even with the easing of lockdown restrictions caused by the coronavirus around the world, airport activities have not fully resumed. The International Air Transport Association, which represents 290 airlines, published an analysis showing airline passenger revenues dropping by $314 billion this year, reflecting a 55% decline when compared to 2019. Already, the situation has led to airlines across the globe to cutting jobs. It is reported that Emirates Group is considering slashing about 30,000 jobs. This is the deepest cut yet in global airline industry. It's also reported that Emirates is considering accelerating the retirement of its fleets of A380s, a massive double-decker jet that can seat more than 500 passengers. British Airways also said it would cleave some 12,000 from its payroll, while Europe's biggest low-cost carrier, Ryanair, is said to be in discussions to reduce as many as 3,000 staff. In the U.S., more than 100,000 workers at the 4 largest U.S. carriers have taken voluntary leave. In Nigeria, Arik Air slashed 80% of their workers' salaries and 90% of staffs were asked to proceed on leave without pay until further notice. Max Air informed their staffs that it will not be able to provide remunerations for them for the duration of the lockdown. The 21st of June have been set for a tentative opening for domestic flight operations in the country. The Minister of Aviation said certain conditions have not been fulfilled, will be fulfilled between now and the 21st of June. Airline chiefs have warned employees that a permanent resizing is on the way, but the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria says they are working round the clock to ensure opening of the airports. And now on to the Navy. Over the span of 5 years, the Nigerian Navy says it has recovered 75 billion worth of stolen petroleum products. The Navy said 2,287 illegal refineries have been destroyed within that same period. Let's take a look at this report. As part of its 64th year anniversary celebration in Abuja, the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ebas, said in the year 2017, the Navy destroyed 1,218 illegal refineries, and by 2018, the numbers of illegal refineries had dropped drastically. The Naval Chief said in 2019, the swamp bogey operations in the Niger Delta made it impossible for the oil thieves to reactivate destroyed illegal refineries or even access the site. Other areas of successes recorded by the Nigerian Navy is that of anti-crude oil theft operations and illegally sourced petroleum products. The Navy said within the period of these years, millions of barrels of crude oil and automotive gas oil have been recovered from criminal oil entrepreneurs, saving the country billions of naira. The Navy said the intervention has led to the spike in oil output and have boosted the Nigerian economy. Meanwhile, oil-producing countries such as Saudi Arabia is set to have moved a staggering $40 billion to its sovereign wealth fund to finance its overseas investments. The country's finance minister, Mohammed Al-Judaan, reportedly said the funds were transferred from the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority's foreign reserves during March and April. Saudi Arabia is reported to be facing its worst economic crisis in decades with the effect of the coronavirus and the fall in oil prices. But even at that, the country is said to be making several forms of huge investments in the United States and Europe. The minister reportedly said that the transfer would provide dollar liquidity to the $325 billion Public Investment Fund, PIF, which would allow the country to continue to invest overseas tactically and for the long term. And President Muhammadu Buhari has reportedly directed the Ministry of Finance to release to Siemens AG its share of funding in the power deal agreed upon last year. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning will pay the sum of €15,206,166 for offshore works and 1.7 billion naira for onshore works. This payment is from the negotiated signature bonus account, which has been approved as Nigeria's 15% counterpart funding for the concessionary loan. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the activities of the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company, NBET, from 2015 to 2020. The motion was moved by Mr. Mohammed Wudil. Mr. Wudil said the committee has received complaints against the company since its establishment. The lawmaker said the House is aware of several anti-corruption agencies, which includes the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Independent Corrupt Practice Commission, and the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation had all earlier investigated NBET and came out with reports. The Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company is responsible for purchasing electricity from generating companies through power purchase agreements and sell them to distribution companies through vesting contracts. Adopting the motion, the House mandated its Committee on Power and Financial Crimes and Anti-Corruption to investigate NBET from 2015 to 2020 and return back within 2 weeks for further legislative action. And on to environmental matters. The Director General of National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, NASDRA, Dr. Idris Musa, said the agency has been doing a lot to protect Nigerians' territorial waters from pollution and curtailing the spread of oil spill into neighboring countries' territorial water. Here's E&E Weekly correspondent Topsy Gimba, whom had a chat with the Director General.
Dr. Idris Musa described environment as key to human survival and appealed for adequate funding in the sector.
The major challenges will be, one, inadequate funding, which has always been the case even in the entire environmental sector. And we have always been advocating, and we keep advocating, that environment must come to the front burner. Everything that is done on earth is on the environment. And what is our environment? We are talking of the lithosphere, we are talking of the atmosphere, we are talking of the hydrosphere.
The Director General disclosed that government could have done more in its current war against COVID-19 if efforts were directed towards improving on the environment. Dr. Idris Musa explained that NOSDRA has been doing a lot to protect Nigeria's territorial waters for pollution to guarantee safety of aquatic lives.
And it was then that we now had a draft of what we call National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, which was now packaged and forwarded to the Federal Executive Council under the administration of President Obasanjo. And in the year 2003, the Federal Executive Council approved the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan for Nigeria.
Dr. Idris Musa further pointed out that as a nation, the need to pay attention to illegal activities on the nation's waters has become unavoidable, especially participating and signing international treaties in order to guard against possible pollution and dumping of waste in the country's waters.
It would be recalled that some weeks back, NOSDRA reported 2 leaks from the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company oil fields in southern Ijaw and Brass local government area of Bayelsa, which was reportedly caused by equipment failure. It was reported that the spill occurred on the 24-inch Ogoda Brass crude oil trunk line. Chairman of Okpoma Kingdom Oil and Gas Committee, Mr. Percy Wemi Kwoming, reportedly said NOAC have made several attempts to fix the leaking pipeline without the usual joint investigation visit by the relevant authorities concerned. It was also reported that they were stopped by youths placed on surveillance in the area. And that's all we can take for E&E this week. Join us again on Thursday as we bring you top stories from the energy and environment sector. I am JOYCELYN, ELLAKECHE, ADAH. Thanks for watching.